midnight, the start of a new millennium, and 36 men, women and children are cast away on the remote Hebridean island, Taransay. A cross-section of the British population, they will spend a year living and working together as they build a new community and reflect on the lives they have left behind. Castaway 2000 is the story of what they learn about each other and themselves.
It's New Year's Day.
There's no food.
Everybody's ill, and there's just not enough food.
Before they'd even started the year, over half the community was struck down by a flu epidemic, and the building of the accommodation was severely delayed due to bad weather. Then 4 of the castaways learned that their packing crates full of essentials for their year away had been dropped during the airlift to the island.
It's ruined. All this stuff from home that you just spent such a long time putting together. It's wrecked.
Just hours into the new year, there's more bad news, as Dubliner Poreg Nallen is airlifted off with a suspected broken leg. And he's not alone in leaving the island. Those worst affected by the flu virus are joined by 4 of the castaway families who are leaving for the neighbouring island of Harris, until Taransay is in a fit state to return. It's not the start to the year the community had hoped for.
Dreaming of a white Christmas.
During their second night, the island was hit by gale-force winds and the most severe storms in recent history. For the castaways, it's an early taste of life in the Western Isles, and by the morning of day 3, they're counting the cost. Their incomplete and patched-up buildings were no match for the Force 11 gales, which have torn the roof from one of the buildings and dumped it 200 yards away. With no sign of a break in the weather, it's up to the castaways to carry out makeshift repairs to prevent any further damage.
There you go. Basically, half the roof off the whole of the toilet block has come off. One of the pig sheds missed.
Just missed the polytunnels.
Just missed the polytunnels by just a couple of feet.
Start at the beginning again. Rebuild. We'll not give up. Don't give up.
No. I think all of us trying to stand up in the wind. No, that's it. We'll just start over again. I think this is going to be the precedent for the next few months, really. We sort of expected it. I just didn't expect it quite so soon.
No. I think we'll go hang gliding today again.
Without the layer of turf needed to secure the roofs, the unfinished accommodation pods haven't escaped the damage either.
You should have really, in an ideal world, got all the felt on here and waterproof it properly, then turfed it straight away for the weight to keep the roof on, so the wind wouldn't have had a chance to do this. Then you can't do everything at once, it's just a question of prioritising. And sometimes things can happen, but, you know, chin up, let's do it again, no problem. Challenge after bloody challenge, though, innit? I tell you, God.
The castaways' next challenge is to find the food supply they have been given for their first month on the island.
Well, we're just trying to locate this food that's gone missing. And I thought I'd have a quick look in the pigsty. No pigs in them, there might be some food. It's cold. Is that cold? Yeah. No, absolutely nothing in there. So, might just go and check out over there. There's quite a lot of stuff underneath the tarpaulins.
That's a guitar. That's nothing yet, Liz.
No, we thought it might be under this red tarpaulin. But all we found is candles and smoke alarms. And flat pack furniture. Which isn't very helpful when you're hungry.
I think this might be food there. Oh, it is.
There's loads of chaos, but chaos is sort of creative. I mean, you can only make things happen out of chaos, you know, because the bits are all there. You've got to assemble and form patterns into them. So chaos doesn't faze me at all, as long as, you know, a bit of order emerges out of it, you know, down the line. And if you can see that happening, and that is happening, and that's really, really, you know, encouraging, I think.
The Castaway community will have a farmhouse, a schoolhouse, a converted barn, and 4 accommodation pods to live, work and sleep in. All the electricity on the island will be generated by a wind turbine and hydroelectric pump installed and managed by the castaways themselves.
How much are we allowed each?
Inside the converted barn, or steading, is a kitchen where the castaways will prepare their food, and a social area where they will eat communally and spend what leisure time they can find. To help them survive their first winter, they will have a limited budget to spend on food and materials. But they will ultimately grow their own fruit and vegetables in 3 polytunnels, which they will plant up and cultivate throughout the year. Overlooking the sea, the schoolhouse will be used for education and social activities, but for the time being, it's where the castaways will sleep until their individual pod rooms are finished. But it's the steading that provides the main focus of life during the early days on Taransay, and it's here that the castaways meet every day to discuss the priorities of their new life together. With so much work to do before the families can return, rotas are quickly drawn up as the castaways set about improving the state of their new home. But not everyone's convinced that the priorities are necessarily right.
It's what, 2nd of January, and we're gardening, and all the buildings are falling down. You know?
I've just heard Ray there saying 2nd of January and we're gardening. Well, we're not gardening. I mean, we had a discussion at the meeting last night where this was all going to become a quagmire, so we decided we would actually get it sorted, get a proper wall in, clear out this, just get all the rubble away so that it's a nice path to walk through. Ray's already started with all those white stones, and we don't really want white stones with these stones.
We just would like a nice 2 walls of big rocks like this.
So we've got a bit of an issue, really.
Crazy.
Ray decides that crazy paving is not for him and heads off to try the local fishing.
Morning. Nice day today.
Over on the neighbouring island of Harris, those who decided to leave Taransay have settled into their temporary accommodation, where they are joined by Porrig, fresh from hospital, and members of the production team, not so fresh from their time on the island.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really mind so much about the leg. It's the fact that I'm off the island and I can't work. That's really annoying me. I mean, I am pissed off that I can't work. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to be done and I really want to do it. So at the moment I can see myself sitting around reading, writing and making cups of tea for people, and that's about it.
I mean, just looking at everybody's unshaven faces off the island, it makes you feel a little, you know, more comfortable. But I'd rather be over there under the right circumstances.
We don't know what they're thinking over there. They may be thinking that, you know, we're just opting out and having a cushy time, which, I mean, we are having a cushy time, but we don't want to be doing that. We'd much rather be living over there and helping get things sorted. But it's just not feasible when we haven't got anywhere to sleep or anywhere reasonable to sleep. We're not prepared to rough it to the extent that they are.
I was not as overprotective as a parent. I mean, I think that people are a bit too overprotective, and I think that the kids had a whale of a time. They were running around, they were loving it. You know, they were getting stuck in, and we had one of the kids who was whinging earlier on, you know, making a table, and I mean, just get them working and doing, you know, things. I mean, but I mean, I'm not, you know, I've done that bit. My kids have flown the nest. I mean, and I reckon every elder person, they're doing it wrong, you know. But I just think they should get here early. They're going to feel a bit left out. I can understand if the children are ill, and there are some which, you know, that are actually physically ill, then I agree maybe it's best to sort of just wait a day till they're fit and strong. But those that are a bit miffed about the state of the place, I think that's personally think that's a mistake, but that's an individual call, isn't it?
You know, I've been talking to a couple of their families, and they don't sound very enthusiastic, you know. But maybe they might change their mind over there in their hotel.
On the afternoon of day 3, Ben and Sandy are sent over to visit Gordon Carey and the other castaways who are not on Taransay to report on recent events.
There is a possibility that a few of you are going to be here for a couple of weeks, and we're going to be there, and we're sorting out food and various other things. Yeah. So we decided that it would probably be a good idea just to come over and just basically, yeah, because we are supposed to all be together and just tell you what's happening, yeah. There was a bit of a storm last night.
We know, yeah.
A little bit.
Was there any damage done?
Yeah. There was. The pods, some of the felt on top has been ripped off.
Oh, Christ.
The toilet block roof got a little bit damaged. The half roof that came off was a really last-minute thing. The builders were told, get it finished as soon as you can. And it was blatantly a rush job. This was all, you know, this was going to be our main challenge of the whole year, the weather. And that's what, you know, I think we can all agree with that. And the fact is, everyone's spirits are really high, and we were all as Sandy and I left.
Spirits are high.
But they are. I mean, that's an important thing.
You're not running families, you know. You're yourselves. You know, we were told that one of the pods was complete, but for a leak, you know, so it isn't complete, is the story. And, you know, we don't want to be there until it is leak-proof, warm.
But that's why you're here now, because you're not happy with it there.
Yeah,
so stay here.
Yes, but
stay here until you're happy with it there.
Absolutely. But what we can't have is people coming here telling it's complete, and everybody's in wild spirits.
Yes.
And then we go across and find that there's another leak. You know.
But we haven't done that, Roger.
You were telling us that everybody's in high spirits. No, you haven't told us it's complete, but we have been told various things are complete, and they're patently not. Are we just going to be dumped with all the leaks, or are they part of the repair process in the first 6 months or whatever?
Well, if leaks hatch because of nights like last night, you're going to have to repair them. That's life in the Western Isles, I'm afraid.
Well, but they're built with a Western Isles specification.
They are, yes.
The harshest weather is going to be now, February and March. And if the weather is so bad it's causing damage to stuff, we're going to need to fix it then and there, not get onto the satellite phone and call them out.
Isn't that the whole...
Isn't
that the whole point of the... It's the only thing I'm going to say, but isn't that the whole point of us being on the island is for us to exist and do stuff ourselves and not get on the phone and say, hey, I've got a block pipe, whatever.
We could just call the local...
My way of dealing with it is make Lion Television produce what they're supposed to have produced. Everybody else's way seems to be make up for their deficiencies. Well, you know,
that's what putting together in a community is all about, I thought.
Well, look, I mean, this is an artificial community. Whatever anybody says, this is a community created by Lion Television. Now, they have chosen...
We volunteered for this, remember?
We volunteered under certain terms, which were that we had accommodation and we had... Our terms were that we were clothed adequately for the Western Isles. We are not adequately clothed for the Western Isles. We are not adequately accommodated for the Western Isles.
But c'est la vie, that's how I look at it. We'll make up for it now.
You haven't been here. They had. They knew the island. We didn't. So how could you possibly think of everything? That was their job.
You find out, when you go for a project like this and you find out you're going to be inhabiting a Western Isle, you know it's going to be cold, you know it's going to be wet, you know it's going to be really severe, miserable weather conditions an awful lot of the time. So you buy the things,
right,
you get it organised.
I'm obviously a minority here, so I mean, fine. I've got my waterproof trousers, but my opinion is that you folk should be making them pay for your waterproof trousers.
You're talking about trousers, and me and other people lost their crates. We haven't got really vital things that we did think ahead for the year. We brought all these things for the year. I haven't even got my bedding. I haven't got a pillow. I haven't got sheets. I haven't got a pair of boots. I've got a pair of trainers. All the things I did think about bringing are gone. You know, and I'm not prepared to go to that island with all those things that were lost and hear you lot talking about, you know, buying a pair of trousers that you didn't bring. You know, I brought them, where are they? Somewhere floating around the bloody Hebrides.
Really sorry that Sandy and I came over even really sorry we even came over to get your view.
Ben,
that's what Ron's saying.
No, it isn't.
People have been in tears here out of sheer frustration. And it's really upsetting, and I just begin to think, you know, what am I doing here? It's just... It's just...
You're okay.
By the end of the first week, the 18 castaways on Taransay are adjusting to their new life and sharing their thoughts on their weekly video diaries.
Well, this is my first video diary. I can't quite believe that I'm doing it, looking so awful. I haven't washed my hair in longer than I care to remember.
You know, I hate this, dread being in front of the camera, but I'm just going to have to face the music and try and do it.
Well, here I am again. It's 3:15 nearly. I did my other one about 2 hours ago, but I'm absolutely sure I forgot to put the mic on, so I'm a bit of an arse for that.
As you can see, I'm in the best of health. Just a touch of the old raining coughs.
I've had this bit of a cough since I had the flu, and you know, with the damp atmosphere, it doesn't seem to go away. But I'm keep taking the tablets and the odd drop of whiskey, as they say, and hopefully it'll be okay.
Anyway, that's it for now. It's been quite a long one. I'll do it again shortly. Bye.
Shall I get on with the story?
Yes, sorry, go on.
That's all right.
You eating that biscuit?
Yes, I'm speaking on camera.
Okay, sorry.
You speak for a bit.
Okay, over to you.
Thanks.
Just a quick one to say, I can't get out of the room because Liz has locked me in.
Oh, well, that's lovely, dear.
Taransay is just so amazing. It's great. I've made really good friends with Claire. Claire's just brilliant. We play all day. I had a bit of an accident with my paw down here.
I've had the same socks on for 2 weeks. That just sounds disgusting. But I think we all smell the same at this point, so it really doesn't matter. It's a beautiful day today. Everybody's gone for a walk, but I'm in the kitchen, cooking, which I do enjoy, and I swore that I would never ever cook when I came on here. But I must say I've had an absolute ball of a week, making food out of things that just don't exist and making it taste nice.
Everybody's getting into a groove of work still. Nobody's really bitching as long as Ray gets his meat every day, and the veggies get their veggie stuff and vegans get vegan stuff, and I get fed. I haven't been laid yet, but it's okay. Loads of cold sores as normal.
Absolutely loving it. No regrets yet. I think the weather's perfect, and as people have pointed out, my only descriptive word is still amazing.
It's week 2, and while the pods are progressing, they're still not ready. With the farmhouse full of visiting pod builders, most of the castaways are bedding down in the overcrowded schoolhouse. The congestion isn't helped by Porrig's return to the island.
Yeah, still got mango.
Do you know what number bed this is, everyone? What? 13. I'm looking for all of us.
There's 15 of us. Scary. It's very scary.
We'll all have Legionnaire's disease in the morning.
As far as the space goes, I mean, we're all sort of living on top of each other, and it's something that I never thought I'd be able to cope with. But I think it's everyone's in crisis mode, and everyone's sort of mucking in, and I'm not feeling it as much. I mean, when I lived in London, I was so protective of my personal space and had to have my own room and you know, my flat, which had to be very quiet. And here, so far, although it means you don't get as much sleep at night, and you know, everything's so chaotic and everyone's losing things, it's not unbearable.
In the cramped conditions, a bit of personal space is hard to find, but Ray will do anything to find some, even if it means going to bed earlier than most.
That's why I come up here on my own every night. I mean, not that I'm antisocial, but, you know, sometimes we always talk about what they're going to do and all this. You know, it's a bit of a joke to me, you know. So I just come up here. I mean, I've never been a reader of books till I come here. I've never drank whiskey till I come here. And I've started all these things now. I'll be bloody knitting next.
The cramped conditions that the castaways are suffering in their living quarters is a stark contrast to the size and scale of the island they inhabit. During breaks in their work schedule, they start to explore their new home and reflect on the new environment they find themselves in.
The island is just fantastic, and I can't explain what it's like. Yesterday was absolutely stunning, and last night was just
so amazing, so much more than I could ever have imagined. I just went off alone and was so in love with it that very soon I was wondering how I'm going to cope with the end of the year and being quite nostalgic about it before I even start.
I've never, ever seen stars in the sky like that. And you could actually see the Milky Way of the band going right across. I mean, you know, bearing in mind all the conditions, the weather here, I mean, it's pouring down now, with the rain and the wind. Little moments like that make it all worthwhile.
Life is fantastic. Sleep in the schoolhouse, warm and cosy every night. Big, big winds out there, big winds.
I got round the corner, actually, on the beach side of the schoolhouse, and the wind just hit me, and I was literally crawling on all floors with my sleeping bag, trying to reach the schoolhouse, trying to get up the stones to the schoolhouse. And the wind just took me and lifted me off, and I found myself at the bottom in a pile, and I'd obviously squawked on the way down because 3 or 4 of the lads from the schoolhouse all ran out in their underwear and rescued me and picked me up off the rocks and brought me inside.
It's certainly the strongest wind I've ever encountered in my life. Yeah. Still enjoying it though. Real good fun. Good crowd, good crack. Good food, everything. Really enjoying it at the moment.
There's certainly something about being here which is mentally very, very restful. The issues are very, very simple. It's about food and it's about fuel. It's about people. And there are very, very few distractions.
The tranquility of their new life comes to an abrupt end during the second week, when Taransay is besieged by journalists and photographers, both on the ground and in the air. The flu epidemic and storm damage which prompted some of the castaways to leave the island becomes headline news.
If I say, hello, we came over to talk to you, yeah, I want to talk to us, if you don't want to talk to us, fine. We're not going to place it in the mail and run around and intimidate everyone or anything like that.
You can understand that people want to know what's happening here. That's all, we're just trying to let people know what's happening.
But that's what the television programmes are for.
People want to know now.
These tabloid journalists, they came to our island and they were running about with a camera and just getting under our feet, really annoying people, really nasty people. So we switched the camera onto them and they hated it. They were running around, scurrying away.
We're intrusive, but you're not intrusive, standing 2 inches away from my face.
Well, if you turn your cameras off, I'll turn mine off.
This is a television project.
Yep.
We just wanted to keep my eye on them the whole time and make them realise, give them a similar treatment to the treatment that they were giving us, I suppose.
Nobody comes in that steading from now on. We don't give them water, nothing. If they're dying and crawling up that path, we've got timber to make them coffins. And they get buried here. They get nothing. No water, no tea, no food. OK?
I know a few people have found the press intrusion difficult. And for some reason, I mean, Ray has taken it upon himself to take a huge dislike. Like, I mean, he had a little argument with Porrig the other day. Little argument, I'd say.
You might have to be nice, but I don't. Right? They shouldn't be here.
I know they shouldn't, but the best thing...
Well, I will be not nice to anybody what shouldn't be here. Sorry.
But the best way to deal with it is just to be polite, Ray.
If they walk towards me and they bump into them, well, they've got to expect the way I am. So, you just carry on, you be nice, and I'll not be nice.
It's not a huge sacrifice to avoid them.
I will try to avoid them, but if they just happen to get in my way, well... so why don't you just accept that and keep going on like a bleeding minor bird?
But you're going on like a minor bird as well, I think...
No, I'm not. You're going on. I'm telling you what I'm going to do.
But why can't you adjust your behaviour for the sake of the community?
I cannot adjust my behaviour. I am what I am, what I am. I've heard that song.
Ray, we are all what we are, but we have adjusted our behaviour slightly.
I will not adjust to journalists.
You'll be seeing lots of reporters, because lots of reporters know about this boat.
You must respect, though, we've got kids here, and we had a fruit cake over last night, you know, so...
well, guess what?
No, it wasn't it? It's just...
I'm sorry, we don't care.
What we wanted...
We don't care.
You don't care about my children?
We can't care.
But you don't care about my children?
Well, you should care about your children,
no.
not having a godforsaken place like this.
My God. What's wrong, Trish? I've just said to him, have a bit of respect, and he's just took an attitude saying, I don't care about your kids. Listen, it's obvious the man's not a grandfather or a dad. He's just told me that he is a dad. The man's got an attitude. I have kids here, and if I've got to push you off here, you respect that. You come back with a better attitude and a bit of caring, and that's fine. But you respect my kids and my kids' safety. Watch this space, and nobody will be coming off Taransay next year. We will be here through thick and thin, wind, rain, snow, sleet, to prove a point.
At the end of the second week, there was a much more welcome arrival on Taransay.
Oh, letters. Today I am postman.
The fortnightly mail boat is the Castaway's only official contact with the outside world, bringing with it deliveries of essential supplies and the all-important mailbag. Written correspondence will be the Castaway's only contact with friends and family for the whole year, and the arrival of the post quickly becomes the high point of the week and a great social event.
You are so nice. I want you to come back because I love you so much. You are the best nanny in the world. I really want you to come back. I love you so much.
Oh, he says, thanks for all your boring letters.
This is a card that I got from my dad's brother, and they split up about 27 years ago, and they never ever spoke. And he was a good uncle to us when we were younger, and we actually thought he was dead. And I've just had a card now just saying, good luck to you, you deserve it. I hope you succeed in this project. Your Gran Adams, who was my dad's mum, would be proud of you. If you're down, sing Chirpy Chirpy Cheep Cheep, Love Uncle Eddie, which was a song that we used to sing on the way up to the Highlands when we were going camping. We used to sing Chirpy Chirp, and I honestly thought he was dead.
Any money in the card?
Listen, this is priceless. This is priceless. So, and I've had a letter off my mum, who for the first time ever has approved of me. My mother's proud of me now.
As well as letters from friends and family, the Castaways get their first taste of celebrity status following the transmission of the first series of programmes.
Seeing you both on telly has been very interesting. After working with you for over a year, Des, I was surprised to see you lose your rag twice in 2 episodes. You should have done that here, but I have to admit I never once saw you flare up at work. Liz comes across as an absolute sweetie. Is this good cop, bad cop routine?
And Ben, I must say he's being the star of this episode. He is so nice, charming, kind and fit. Oh well, if by any chance he turns gay during the year, give him my number.
Oh wait, no, Mum. Gay chat like.
But not all the Castaways feel comfortable about their new celebrity status.
God, everyone's obviously got expectations about me, and oh my gosh, what happens if I don't keep up with them? You know, all the reviews said, God, Ben is just such a lovely, helpful, thoughtful person, and I can't help thinking, oh my God, I've got 12 months. Can I? I mean, yeah, I'd like to think that was how I am, and that is me. But I've got 12 months solid just thinking, oh my gosh, what happens if I break at any stage? It's going to be so embarrassing because I'm going to, you know, break everyone's expectations of how I should be reacting. So the second part is I suddenly feel a pressure that I didn't think I was going to have.
Ben soon finds himself under even more pressure when some late-night drinking with the last of the builders raises the prospect of a beard-growing competition.
So this clink of glasses would be no shaving, no cutting.
Yeah, until June the 21st.
Until summer solstice.
Yeah, June the 21st.
2003.
Who is in on
Well, it might be the 4 of us, Trevor, Ben, Patrick and me.
If I grow everything, like all hair down to here and beard down to here, is that going to reduce my pulling?
Does it change your voice as well when you grow
Yes, it would dramatically reduce your pulling power.
Well,
as yet, there's been very little discussion in abstract of any sort of issues, although there's beginning to emerge, again, I'm sure it will intensify reflection on the notion of fairness and of, pulling one's weight.
I got up this morning at 6:30, made the fires, made the breakfast. Nobody showed up. So that was a waste of 3 hours.
Look, I told you earlier. I do what I want.
Some of them think it's bucklings, I'm sure they do. They talk a good show. You know what I mean? But when it comes, there's about 4 or 5 gaffering, and the rest are playing.
I think Ray is the most wonderful person. He really makes me laugh, and I really admire him and really respect him, and just think he's incredibly funny. But he also makes me feel so guilty.
You've got to do a full... I don't think none of them's capable of doing a full day's work. I'm convinced of that. They'll do about an hour and then they're off gallivant.
I just find Ray and Peter and Patrick and various other people just make me feel guilty for kind of a little bit of loafing every now and then. I don't get bored easily, but I like to have lots of variations. So even working at Tatler, I would have 10 different projects to do at the same time. So I would say, I'd start doing one, and then I'd get a little bit bored, and I'd go, okay, let's try the next one, and I'd do the next one, and then I'd go back, and I'd swip, and I'd swap. And unfortunately, Ray has this thing in his mind that you have to stick to one job solidly all day long. And I know that's probably the way you have to do it in the building trade, or, maybe even in life. And maybe I'm just very lucky that I've come from a job where I could just sit back and choose when I wanted to do it. Like yesterday afternoon when it was so beautiful, and all I wanted to do was just go for a little walk. It was the most beautiful day yet. But no, well, I did. I snuck off, and then Ray didn't talk to me for a little bit. And but I suppose that's what it's going to be like. Everyone has different expectations and different ways of doing things, and mine is I drift off quite a lot, as in my mind wanders, as does my body.
I don't know. I'm glad the Russians are friends with us.
In a bid to improve the work ethic amongst the younger castaways, Ray and Peter put them to work where they can see them, while they get on with some chicken fencing 50 yards away.
What are we doing here?
We're digging big holes, as usual.
Playing out.
That's what we do on this island.
Just dig holes. Dig. Yeah. We'll be going through shortly.
We don't really know what for. We just get Ray and Peter to come up and say, let's dig a big hole. I think they just want to keep us busy.
Just keeping the youngsters at work.
I think.
Oh yes.
I think they were worried there wasn't enough work going on, so they said, yeah, let's just dig about 10,000 million holes.
Drag a few of them out of bed and get them working.
Right.
Just smile and wave.
Peter and Ray watching us from a distance, shouting. It's like two...
Granddad.
You know in the Muppet Show? There's the two grandpas
in the
balcony.
Molly and Molly.
Like...
Molly and Molly.
Whoa!
We gave Ben, Trevor and Toby a job to do down there, and we told them we're putting pig fencing in. And we just spotted it.
We dug out the holes for them.
We just spotted it, and I just said to Peter, we're not having giraffes, are we?
All that's basically happened is that, as usual, we get the bad end of the job. So Ray and Pete start it. God love them. Right?
They dig all the holes with a really fun machine. They go
with that noise as well, it does. And then from there, we're asked to dig them deeper, wider, put the poles in and concrete them, which we've done.
Which is fine.
But as Ray's just come over and informed us that the poles needed to be cut in half. But what the problem is that if we would have cut the poles like 3 or 4 times, he would have moaned that they weren't cut right. But nobody told us that they were meant to be cut anyway.
They said that you didn't tell them that they needed to be sorted.
We thought it was common sense, you see. But I mean, Trevor's supposed to have been in the, a man of the world. I don't know. Hey? When brains come out, they must have missed that lot.
Ray thinks we've built a giraffe pen now.
Because it's to keep what in on out pigs?
Is it pigs we're getting tomorrow or giraffes, eh?
hold this for anybody else, you know, Tanya.
You wouldn't trust any of the youngsters?
Phew! What? I'd end up in bloody hospital like the rest of them. What?
It's a lot
Is that still straight?
I think I better just check that.
There's certainly a well, it's not a division, but between the young and the old. And we were all talking, the young as such, we were all saying, God, if it was just us here, all we do all day is like have a big sleep in, go for a big walk, get completely trolleyed in the evening, and we just get by. We just make beans on toast or something. I don't know. It's not exactly like that. But we certainly wouldn't have the kind of guilty feelings that we have.
It's the end of week 2. And across the water on the Isle of Harris, the families are staying in holiday cottages, dealing with the constant press attention as to why they are not on Taransay. In a bid to reduce some of this pressure, they are invited to either return to the mainland or go over to Taransay. 3 of the families decide to stay put, but the Stevenson family take up the invitation and fly to London to await developments. The castaways who are staying away from the island visit Taransay whenever they can, to join in with the work effort. And when Ron comes over to visit, he brings with him a letter to the community from Roger and Rosemary Stevenson.
There has been considerable resentment that there has been no doctor on site.
Right.
And we would like to, I would like to hear this letter.
Yes. Yeah.
And it says, Dear Castaways, we've been very excited about Castaway 2000 for many months. We can see enormous potential in the project and are sure that it will be a great success when it gets properly underway. We feel we have a lot to offer the community, in brackets, and indeed already have behind the scenes, close bracket, but not at any price. We would be happy sharing a room with our children for the year, and if we are to occupy the Mackay house, as suggested, sharing the house with one other family. Overcrowding is an intolerable burden to impose on us as we attempt to create a community in such a hostile environment. Sadly, we feel that our only option is to leave until what was promised at Windermere has been delivered. We send you all our very best wishes, Rosemary and Roger.
It seems from our point of view, living in, you know, as I say, beds full of nails and plasterboard and so on and so forth, there's a sort of certain, you know, lack of an ability to compromise that the rest of us are quite happy to do.
Everybody involved in my part of the selection process has known that Rosemary and Roger have had their criteria under which they will undertake this project.
What is the criteria? No hardship whatsoever, because if there's going to be no hardship, there's no programme.
Well, I don't think they would really be involved in the project if they were expecting no hardship.
Here we are, a community in really difficult circumstances with people going down like flies, and we have no doctor. We have no support here.
We don't even have any
medicines.
We don't have any bandages.
Because Roger's got all the supplies. Because of the sheer necessity of having a doctor, as we understand it for insurance purposes, has put them in a bargaining position. It's different from the rest of us, and that ain't fair.
Back in his hotel, Ron calls Roger and Rosemary in London.
I read the letter out, and then they said sort of what they really want to know is the nuts and bolts of your criteria and the differences between what they were and what they are now.
We're all being flexible. Why can't other people be flexible? And when you're living in these conditions, you know, with the rain driving in and we haven't put mats down and walkways and so on and so forth to sleep above it, to have somebody saying, oh, well, we won't move in until there's a wooden floor, it just feels a little bit ripe. And sort of, or everybody gets sort of deeply, it just becomes a joke. And that's the way the group is forming itself around that issue.
And then they wanted to know, like, you know, there was this thing about if one of the roofs blew off and it was pissing down with rain, would you and Roger get out with the rest of us, you know, with a hammer and nails and And I said, well, I can't imagine Roger and Rosemary sitting there while their kids are getting absolutely soaked, not doing anything. So, you know.
He wants to come with all his comforts, and I'm afraid he's not going to get them. Because I won't lift a finger for him. You know, that's me just personally. I mean, I don't know about the others, but he won't get done anything off me. He's on his own as far as I'm concerned.
Rosemary and Roger are concerned that some members of the community that are on the island might not want them to come back. And so Roger's going to come up from London and come over to the island and speak to the members of the community that have concerns about how committed they are on a nuts and bolts level to the project.
Well, I don't know what to say and how to say it, but I fought so hard for what I thought we were going to get when we first started on this project. And all along we've been reassured that we'd have this. And I don't feel that I can suddenly change our move our goalposts. We want space for our kids that is safe and to learn and play in. And we want our own private room for the four of us. I don't see that as a very great demand.
What we've been hearing is like, it's like the rumour mill working. It's like, well, Roger isn't happy until this is done, that's done, blah-de-blah's done. And we haven't really known exactly what is true and what is not true. So, I mean, if you're here saying today, you need X, Y, Z completed, well, that's fine, and everyone just needed to hear that. It's just that we haven't had that communicated with.
You know, I am here as one of us. I want to dig carrots and repair the roof and put a slate back on, and, you know, I want to do that sort of stuff, and I don't know how it's got about that I'm unwilling to do that. It's ridiculous.
He looked so poorly, I thought. I know he's been a little bit ill, but I must say I suddenly all of the complaints about Roger needs this, Roger needs that, kind of just fell away for me, and I just thought, oh no, I feel really bad.
There's been a lot of upset about his lack of concern for us all, and I think seeing him made us feel better about him being part of the whole project, although I'm still left with some uncertainty as to how much effort he's going to put into just the general mucking in and working with everybody, whether he's going to be very demanding of things in the future beyond just the material quality of his house.
I think that in that meeting that we had early this morning, people were more unwilling to admit what's been said constantly, in my opinion, than on camera, than they had been saying in, you know, dark, rainy nights, if you see what I mean.
While the community waits to see when, or indeed if, the Stevensons will return to the island, life continues without them. Rules are drawn up about how they will live and work together, but it proves more difficult to reach an agreement over what food they will eat and who should cook it. All the castaways have strong views about what they want to eat, but the task of cooking and washing up for the community is the least popular job on the island. It's decided that everyone must take a turn in the kitchen to cook and clean, but conflict quickly develops when Castaway filmmaker Tanya is accused of not pulling her weight.
I don't really want to make it a personal thing. When you lay down rules, you stick by them, and if not, you're allowed to say that those rules haven't been fulfilled. And one of the rules was, you know, about cleaning up pans, leaving a tidy kitchen, and so on and so forth. It's a very stressful, long day. I mean, I know that.
But there's also the manner in which you approached it, and someone was having.
Can I finish saying what I'm saying,
you
please?
came to a pause, please. Sorry.
And I didn't come to a pause, and the manner in which I said was completely neutral. I said, I think that this kitchen is not up to the required standard, or equivalent was in a very, in my terms, neutral voice. What happens is, I'm a very big person, I'm an old person, I'm a bearded person, and people project onto me all sorts of their own thoughts. I was very, very neutral. I wasn't being angry or anything. I was deeply upset by the response I got. I think that if there's a rule and you say that rule should be followed, and if you bring it to anybody's attention, they should say, well, perhaps they shouldn't respond in an emotional way.
I'm not going to go into particularly how you spoke to me, Peter, but I'm not an emotional person by any means, and I don't know. There were several things that happened yesterday that were exceptional, like the power going off for an hour, so we didn't have any light, like the fact that I was called away to film about 3 times, like the fact that Mike had to go and mend the generator, and it all just meant that we got behind on the washing up. You know, I hate the idea that anyone would think that I'm not pulling my weight. I'd hate that.
No, it's not,
So
that wasn't it. I mean, can I respond to
well, no, I haven't quite finished. But I mean, when I went back in there, I'm sorry, I really think you were rude to me. I really do.
I just thought we'd agreed certain things, and I felt that they were gradually slipping. And I think that in the beginning of a community, because I've lived in one for 25 years, if you don't establish the rules and stick to them, other conventions begin to develop, and it's a very dangerous precedent.
Something really important has been left behind here, that somebody was hurt and upset and crying that night, and it should not have got to that. I'm sorry, Peter, but it should not.
So how are you supposed to say it?
You communally, you do not direct it at one person.
No, you see, I would argue that it's much more hurtful to do it in public. And my attitude to it was there are rules, there was an agreement was broken. And that's, to me, I'm very simple on this one. If we don't stick to the rules we make, we might as well give up.
Well, I think a lot of what we're going through at the moment is learning different people's styles. And Peter, you've got a style. I mean, we've all got a style, and we've got to learn to live with one another's styles. And I think it's just going to take some time.
These sort of meetings ought to be a situation where we can express any fears or feelings that there might be awkwardness, and it must all come out into the open, and we must all be able to express it in our different ways.
Stung by this criticism, Tanya retires to the video diary room in the farmhouse to lick her wounds.
it's almost turned into a bit of a sort of a patriarchy rather than a democracy.
Yeah.
You've got the elders, you've got two, perhaps Peter and Ray being the sort of the elder male figures ruling over.
Yeah, which is just everything I did not want to happen.
I did warn people. I mean, right throughout all the selection process, people say, oh, he's an easygoing, laid-back sort of bloke. And I said, no, but watch out, I can be a bit of a bastard at times. I've said it very explicitly over and over again. And then part of that comes from my experience of, as I said at the meeting, of living with a group of people where I felt one of the mistakes we made was not being explicit enough at the beginning.
We've all got an idea about how we want this community to run, and I thought we were coming here to build some sort of utopia. And yet, we're all bringing our prejudices with us.
Yeah.
And because I think many of us haven't been with a complete cross-section of society before, it's a huge eye-opener. And you suddenly realise that there are...
that still goes on. It's like, whoa! Yeah.
Because it doesn't... Or it's far rarer in our generation.
Yeah, it is.
Just because I'm male and I'm big and I'm old, as I said earlier, I am equally sensitive. Equally. People don't seem to realise this.
As the first month draws to an end, the castaways reflect on their island experience.
There's a few a bit downhearted, there's a few not, and there's a few just switched off. But it's all down to the elements, I think, and getting used to it.
I'm really enjoying getting my hands dirty and doing practical stuff and actually sort of doing physical things for a living as opposed to just talking about ideas for a living. I have to say, what I normally do in London is far easier, but at the moment I'm currently probably enjoying this more because it's novelty and I'm just learning new things, and I'm not quite as clumsy or unpractical as I once thought, so that's quite good.
So different to what I was having before, where I had to get up at 7:30 every morning, trudge to Leeds on the train, which was always packed, full of moody, miserable people. I'd get to work, and there'd be pressure from the start all day long to get the work done. And thank God I'm not doing that anymore. I'm so lucky I've got away from it. I'm here. Thank God for that.
Half of it is just, just the most beautiful time ever. And the other half has actually been quite stressful.
I can't
describe what it's like being here. It's been just fantastic. I've loved every second of it, even the wind and the rain and the mud and the... It's just been great.
Off for a beautiful day, gazing at snow-capped peaks. Terrible life we're having here. Absolutely awful.
Back in the kitchen, there are rumblings of discontent from some of the male castaways who are unhappy at having to do the cooking and cleaning.
Can I have a tea break?
What again? You had 3 a day. Come on, let's be...
It's getting heavy, that.
Right.
He just works you far too hard, you know. Far too hard. He must think I'm a YTS.
The loudest complaints come from Ray, who resents being in the kitchen and is increasingly worried about the lack of meat and 2 veg in his castaway diet.
I'll save that for the sandwich later on.
Desperate Dan.
When Ray announces that he will no longer be doing his weekly kitchen duties, it's Des who intervenes to remind him of his responsibilities to the rest of the community.
You're tending to get the same people now doing the cooking, and you know, we've got to make sure that they don't get into their minds that they'll be doing it all year, because otherwise people will just take the piss, and we're not having that.
If one of the women in the kitchen would have asked me to do it, I would have said, but I'm sick of him trying to run the show and running about like a blue-ass fly all the time. Now it's just trying to get the place safe for all the families and all that, and that's what I'm doing. And for me to spend my time in the kitchen and other people will be walking about all day, it's just not on. So I just says I'm not coming in the kitchen. I did a stint last Thursday and I said no. So he kept going on like a bloody old woman, you know. And I said to him, what we just said, did I say no then? And then I just lost my rag with him. It's just a pain at the arse in times, and you know, the way I am, it's just, you know, I mean, I'm not, what do you call it, I won't let the lid go or anything, but it's just got to be told and put in its place.
Ray and Des bury the hatchet and make up in time for Burns night dinner, and a variation on the traditional piping of the haggis. Over on the Isle of Harris, dinner is a more muted affair as the frustrations of not being on the island continue to mount.
Well, let's make the most of it, because we've got a few more days left here, and then we're really going to be unwimpy.
Yeah, but we don't really want to be here.
We're sitting here in these cottages, twiddling our fingers.
Well, I mean, we didn't come here to be here, did we?
It's been a completely disastrous start to the project for me, and for quite a lot of other people, I think. But for me, it started to go wrong. It started to go wrong at the Carlo Blockhouse Hotel, really, when the bath plug didn't fit.
I know it was a sensible decision to come back, because I really wasn't very well. But now that I'm feeling better, I'm desperate to get over there.
We have an option to either quit and go home, or wait until the island is ready.
I'm not a quitter, you know what I'm saying? I like to, if I commit myself to something, I like to see it through.
A lot of pressure, like a caged tiger, and visiting the island from time to time doesn't seem to ease that. The only thing that does ease is the fact that we know that the people that are on the island are with us all the way.
I have a great deal of respect for the people that are already on the island, mucking in and sharing tents for a room, and but I go over to the island and I see that some of them are looking really unwell.
Have you seen what these people are like over there? Have you seen the way they're completely demoralised?
Back on the island, the Celtic castaways, Porrig and Mike, sing for their supper of haggis, neeps and tatties.
Edward's army and sent them homeward, seeking again.
Really itchy.
The after-dinner conversation centres on Ben's beard as he tells visiting project psychologist Cynthia McVeigh all about his stubble trouble.
Everyone talked about the pros and cons of drinking whiskey and growing a beard. So, Ben, if you back out on this deal that we have made together, then you will have 4 people who can demand pretty much
how many?
what they...
How many people?
4. There were 5 in the deal.
How many? So how many?
4.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm a bit slow. I need a drink, hold on.
There's a very different mood at the other end of the steading, where the recent pressures experienced by Ray are starting to tell.
He's got one leg, he could work in the kitchen instead of about. Yeah, go on, get up.
Ray, there's no point.
You're lazy.
Well, there's no point in getting overexcited.
Right, all right.
Calm down. You know,
he could do a job, but he won't do.
The shouting doesn't help.
Staying in bed till 3 o'clock. And don't tell me you're lazy.
It's a Sunday, Ray. It's none of your business.
Oh, all right, yeah.
Fucking language.
You're a lazy.
Hey, Ray, what's going on?
No, I'm sick of these earthlings you've got here.
And we're sick of you fat snoring.
Hey.
Ray!
Sit down! I will not
down! Ray!
Stop it! Now!
Ray! Sit down!
Ray!
Sit down now!
Ray!
Sit down!
Chris, I go off the island tomorrow.
Ray!
Sit down, Ray!
Come here.
Go off the island.
You don't want this.
Let's go.
Come on, Ray.
Come on, then.
I'll go off the island tomorrow.
It's okay to be annoyed. There's nothing wrong with being annoyed.
The inquest continues long into the night.
I followed him out because I wanted to give him a big hug and say, Ray, come on, calm down. And it was not fair for him to then go, all those little effers, all those little young effers, they never get up in the morning. I've got to get them up every single morning. They don't do a day's work. I know, but it's not fair because I've been up every morning at 6 o'clock to feed the sheep.
Ray's skills are invaluable to an extent, but they're not entirely invaluable, and I think that his behaviour cannot be allowed all the time, whether he's pissed or not, and he's pissed a lot of the time.
I was so close to getting clocked by Ray this morning. Porrig was probably even closer to getting slapped by the fella tonight because he was pissed. All those little bits and pieces, that's not tenable within a community of 36 people.
Yeah, it isn't.
Anybody who acts out of order shouldn't be here, full stop. And if they do that on a regular basis, they shouldn't be here. And if they haven't got their own respect to go, then they should be off. Simple as that.